everybody, and welcome to today's lesson where we're going to be creating a beautiful sunset sky in water mixable oils. So I've got my oil paints, I have a little glass of water. Feel free to use a water mixable oil medium, and the brushes I'm going to be using are Catalyst range, and they are a medium to hard bristle brush. The colours I'm going to be using are primary magenta, cadmium orange, primary yellow and cobalt blue, along with a titanium white. So I'm going to start off with a size 4 round brush. So just dip it in your water a bit and take off the excess on a paper towel. And starting with the orange, I'm going to start with the horizon line and block that in. I'm going to go for a 2/3 of the canvas, so thinking about composition. And it's all very conceptual at this stage and we can be moving things around, so don't worry too much. So next I'm going to take a filbert brush in a size 8 and we're going to start blocking in some of the sky. So just dampening my brush with a little bit of water there. I'm going to mix a colour now which is going to be a really nice deep blue. So taking some of the cobalt blue with a little bit of the magenta, it's going to be a lovely rich purpley colour. And feel free to use whatever colours you like, you don't have to use the same ones that I'm using. But I'm going to start blocking in that sky. And generally I like to keep the corners and the edges the darkest, which means that your eye is drawn into the centre of the painting. But this is just the first layer, so feel free to use quite a bit of water to make sure that the paint is nice and viscous and that it's travelling along the canvas easily. I'm just going to be using water throughout today's painting to keep it really simple for beginners, but if you feel like using a medium, then obviously feel free to do so as you wish. So I'm just going to block that sky in now, just moving my brush backwards and forwards until I feel like the canvas is holding onto that paint. And because this is going to be a seascape, we want the bottom to be reflecting what we've done on the top. So whilst we've got that colour on the brush, I'm going to do the same at the bottom as well. The reason why we're starting with the darker colours is just like regular oils, it makes a lot more sense to work from dark to light, as the white pigment in oils is very, very intense and strong and can easily contaminate other colours, and so that's why we work from dark to light. It's not a hard and fast rule, but personally it's the way I like to work, and I think it is the easiest as well. So feel free to use different brushes for different colours if that's easiest for you. I'm just going to wash my brush out really well. And taking some orange, we're going to take that intensity level right up and add a lot of orange into the centre of the painting. So again, using just a little bit of water on my brush to help it travel across the canvas. And I'm going to add this colour throughout the whole centre of the painting, and I'm going to do it fairly haphazardly because we're going to be blending into this with a nice creamy white to make a beautiful pastel orange colour. So taking some of the orange and adding some of that white together and using a little bit of water to mix that up. I love this shade, it's so beautiful. And it's such a nice contrast with the blue. As you can see from a colour wheel, that blue and orange are opposites, so which is why they work really well together, and you can use them to cancel each other's saturation down. So I'm going to fill in this whole section here with this pastel orange colour. And we're going to go in and rework this again and again. So don't worry too much about it looking exactly the way you want it to look, because this is just the first layer and we're going to be going in with more and more layers. So next I really want to blend that together, so we're covering the whole canvas now. So creating that original colour with the cobalt blue and magenta with a little bit of white, I'm going to now blend those oranges and blues together. So you might want to use plenty of water for this part as well to make sure that those colours really blend together nicely. And I'm adding a bit more white just to create that pastel colour. So you can work that into what we've already done, and I'm also going to take the brush strokes down in a diagonal way, not only for the feeling of clouds in the sky and creating that distance, but also for the blending as well. And as we talked about in the techniques video, I'm now going to be doing this zigzag motion, which really helps to blend those colours out. So once you go up and down in a zigzag way and then go side to side again, it just really blends those colours together. And you can take this as far as you want. I quite like seeing the brush strokes, but if you want a seamless blend, then take a big soft brush and just keep on working that blend until you're happy with it. I quite like seeing the imperfections and the brush strokes and that painterly feel. And this is a great way to take your own artistic license and vision and take the painting in the direction that you want it to go in. Maybe how you use the brush strokes or where you take that gradient to. I'm just going to start pulling this colour now into that horizon and creating that transition between the horizon and the rest of the sky. And you can see that as you blend the blue and the orange together, you get this sort of grayed out colour, and that has been done on purpose. So if you're looking at the colour wheel, any colours that are opposite each other on the colour wheel, if you add those colours together, you'll eventually get more and more greyed out versions. And although essentially you might think, I don't want this grey colour, I like vibrant colours and things, in real life, there's actually a lot more grey than you might think. And it's these greys which then make the vibrant colours really pop. If you have too many vibrant colours, it can really make the whole thing a little bit too much for the eyes, but having these nice grey colours really makes you appreciate those bright, vibrant colours, like the intensity of the orange through the horizon. So now we've done our first layer, we've done our thin, lean layer. We're going to go over with the fat layer. So we're going to use less water and more oil paint. We're going to use the oil paint quite thick now, straight from the tube. I'm going to add in some more saturated and vibrant colours. So add in some of the cobalt, the magenta and the white, and again using that paint quite thickly on my brush. I'm going to start to add in some beautiful brush strokes of like clouds, and you can still see the grey tones underneath, but this is, as I say, what's going to make these colours really pop. So again, take this however you want, like this is your painting and I want it to feel individual to you, so feel free to add these clouds wherever you imagine them and how you imagine them. I'm going to bring mine down in sort of like a diagonal fashion to bring your eye down to the horizon of the painting. And once I feel like I've done that with the sky, I'm going to bring that through the horizon line. Those oranges and blues are like total opposites that can contrast right next to each other. And I'm going to bring that right through. And then obviously with the reflection on the water, I'm going to try and reflect what I've done above in the sky. It's a much easier way of painting when you've got like the same colour and the same brush, rather than doing the sky and the sea separately, and it really creates this cohesive look when you do them together. So I'm going to wash off my brush really well. I keep dipping it in the water and onto the paper towel until it sort of like runs clear. And then we're going to do the same with the pale pastel orange. So taking the orange with some white, again we want to use the paint really thick so that it sits really nicely on top of the previous layers. And I'm going to sort of do the same thing as what we've just done with the pale blue, but with the orange to all tie that colour in together. Some bits you can feel free to blend through, and then other parts I kind of want it to sit on top of very obviously. So again, use your artistic license for what you feel is right for your painting. I'm just going to do a little bit of a mixture of the both. And this will make sure you got some really nice tones in there and going from dark to light. And then I'm just going to blend that through the bottom again till it's almost like reflecting what we've done in the sky. I feel like I've lost that horizon a little bit, so I'm going to make a mixture of the cobalt blue and the magenta. It's going to be a really nice deep purple, and I'm going to bring that back in. I'm not going to be too worried about having a straight line or anything because I'm going to blend into it in a little while, but I'm just going to take that into the horizon and we can blend into that later. I'm also going to take this really rich colour out from the sides and also along the bottom because it's a little bit more pinky, which I like. And also the first layer was the darkest layer, so we need to, you know, sort of bring that intensity back a little bit. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to that mixture we used earlier and blend that through. It almost creates like the illusion of ripples. So at this point all our paintings will probably look quite a bit different, so I'm just going to start working into the sky more and more and building up those layers. I'm going to add a little bit more of a pinky purple tone and just to give it a little bit more warmth against the blue. But generally I'm going to just keep working with the tones that we've already used and just build up those layers in the sky and just keep on working it until I'm happy with it and going backwards and forwards between the oranges and the blues. Okay, so I'm going to blend out that horizon line now, and so I'm going to give my brush a really good rinse off and try and get most of that bluey tone out of the paintbrush. I'm going to go in with some cadmium orange and to bring that intensity back in with the orange and also to blend out that horizon line that we put in earlier. So using that, I'm just going to pop some paint on. And this is a really nice technique that I like to use with blending. So instead of using a clean brush to blend a line, I actually like to get a little blob of oil paint and use that to sort of blend other colours out. So I'm going to add some more of this light blue colour. I think this is like my all-time favourite colour. It's so beautiful. But I'm going to bring that down because it's a really nice brightness. I feel like it brings a nice brightness to the painting. And I'm using it quite thick, so not a lot of water and quite a lot of oil paint, and the white, titanium white, will do that. It'll add quite a lot of bulky oil to the paint, and that keeps it nice and fat, which means there's a lot of paint on the canvas and it'll be nice and slow drying. So if you do want to change bits, that's pretty easy to blend out and to change it. And again, I'm just going to go in with some reflections onto the water. Ooh. Okay, so personally I think that's me finished with the bulk of the painting, so I'm going to give this brush a really good rinse out, and ooh, this water is pretty minging, so I'm going to go and change out the water and get some fresh. I'm going to take a small brush again, and I'm going to pop in a nice little sun on the horizon, which will hopefully add a really nice focal point to the painting. So adding some of the yellow with the titanium white, this is going to really draw your eye in. First of all, I'm going to start with blending this really pale yellow into the orange to get a really nice blend. I'm being a little bit more careful here because what you don't really want is for the yellow to blend in with the blue, because that will obviously make a green, and you don't really want green into the sky. So I'm being very careful whenever it comes near the blue. And then once I've sort of gone backwards and forwards a little bit, I'm going to add in a sunshine as well. I don't know why, I just can't resist calling it a sunshine, but it's a happy word, it's a happy word. And then of course we need to do the reflections as well, which is one of the funnest parts I think about painting the sea, is painting the beautiful reflections. And I kind of again like to be a little bit haphazard and let happy accidents happen, and then you can choose which ones to keep and which ones to erase. So personally for my painting, I want to see a little bit more orange in the sky, so I'm going to go in with some more orange colours and bring in that intensity a little bit more. But if you want to keep it very much at this pastel colours, then feel free, it is your painting as I've said, and you can create whatever you want and whatever colours you like. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of intense orange into the sky. So to create a really high contrast, I really want to add some of that darker bluey purple colour around the edges. So adding the cobalt blue with the magenta, I'm going to bring that in along the top and the bottom, and hopefully this will draw your eye into the painting because you'll have the high contrast between the light and the dark. I'm just going to bring them brush strokes down quite rough because I quite like that painterly effect, seeing those brush strokes. And also I'm going to bring that up from the bottom as well. And also I'm kind of going to bring that along the horizon as well. Maybe that's a little bit too much, maybe I'll take that away a little bit, but it gives like kind of the illusion of the horizon being really far and deep and black, and I quite like that. That horizon is a bit too dark, so using cadmium orange, white with a bit of blue, so you get this really nice grey tone. I'm going to bring that in a little bit more because hopefully that will then draw your eye more to the sun rather than the horizon. But I'm still glad that I did that because you can still see like the remnants of that dark horizon line. It's just blended out a little bit more so it's not so intense. And this brush stroke here is kind of offending me a bit, so I'm just going to blend that out so it's a little bit softer. And at this point, it's very much a case of working through the painting and finding what isn't quite sitting right with you and then going in and fixing those things. There's never really a clear moment when a painting is finished. It's more about when you feel at peace with the different components in the painting. That's how it works for me anyway. So once there's nothing that is really like unsettling me about it, then I know that it's finished. But please take as long as you want on your painting. It really doesn't matter if someone does a painting quick or someone spends hours and hours and hours on a painting. It really doesn't matter. The main thing is that you've had a little go, had a practice, had fun and experimented with it and created something that you're happy with. So I want to say a massive thank you for painting along with me today. I absolutely loved painting with you and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Make sure that you upload your photos to the gallery because I absolutely love seeing your creations and the versions that you guys have come up with, and let me know in the comments how you've got on and if you have any questions.